I'm dropping the hammer.
No, you're not.
Shh. Spoilers ahead. Hello everybody and welcome to Cinemattraction. I'm your host, Heat Guy Jay, and along with me as always is the other host, the main man. He's the man of the hour. Too sweet to be sour.
I'm cold to the bone, John.
He is.
So what have you been watching?
Right, I've been watching. I've rewatched Spiderhead.
Spiderhead, is that
Yes.
good? Is it nice? Are you sore?
I liked it. I watched it. It's really weird. I picked that film to watch, and then I looked on your Letterboxd,
Okay.
and you had watched Oblivion, which is from the same director.
Joseph Kosinski?
Yeah.
Or Kosminski or
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
So-
like Oblivion.
No, I like Oblivion.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, I watched that, which I thought was really weird because I thought maybe we were in the same headspace. Witch Magic. I watched I also watched the Wham documentary on Netflix.
What's the Wham documentary like? For our viewers overseas who are perhaps not that familiar with Wham, what were Wham?
Well, Wham were. I'm sure most of our viewers know
but
who
just-
George Michael was.
Sure, George
yeah, okay.
Michael.
George Michael was in a band in the 80s called Wham, a duo.
Yeah, pop
with
group.
with a partner called Andrew Ridgeley. And this is an hour and a half documentary, mainly talking not really about their intimate lives, but mostly about their public life. It's got Andrew Ridgeley and George Michael talking about their experiences.
Great.
Being in, so it's quite
Anything-
fascinating to listen to be honest. Even
Anything interesting? Anything kind of you didn't really know or weren't expecting?
not really. I mean, like George Michael talks about having to, be in the closet and stuff, and we all know all this sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
sure.
Andrew Ridgeley, I think he was just basically kind of like, well, I know I wasn't really the ultimately
Happy to be here.
Yeah, oh yeah, it literally was. Like, I'm just happy to be here, and George is like the really talented one.
I mean, to be fair, George Michael's a once-in-a-lifetime talent.
Yeah,
so
and it did.
You're always going to play second fiddle to a once-in-a-lifetime.
And every so often he wouldn't refer to him as George, he would refer to him as Yog, because George Michael
he was
had
Greek, right?
had a Greek name, yeah.
Right.
So he would just call him Yog.
Okay.
And I found it really sort of jarring because
Weird.
he'd go Yog this and Yog, and I'd be like,
Right.
I don't know him as Yog.
Yeah, I know it's George Michael.
So, and then of course these two wonderful films that we're going to talk about. One of them I think is very wonderful.
I don't think either of these are particularly wonderful, but I prefer one of the above the other. On this Tom Cruise tangent, I watched Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Oh, you've seen part one?
Really good.
Oh, okay.
I loved it. It's.
Did you love the stunt? The one we see in the trailer where
There's a
Tom
load
Cruise
of really impressive ones. Actually.
Yeah.
There's one involving a train as well. It's basically Tom Cruise versus Skynet.
Okay.
It's about a sort of a problematic AI
Right.
that they have to. It's not like where you've got Prometheus, if that makes sense. You've
Right.
got like the baddie and he has to be stopped.
Oh yeah. Is Prometheus dead in the
I
series yet?
you haven't watched these.
I
films.
haven't
We'll have
watched,
to do an
no.
episode on these. It's not a patch on Fallout. I think Fallout is one of the best action movies of the last
Right. That's the one with Henry
2 or
Cavill in,
3
isn't it?
decades. Yeah. Mission Impossible Fallout. It's a really hard act to follow.
Right.
Because Fallout is brilliant. It's one of the great action movies.
Yeah.
But Tom Cruise is fantastic. It's a really interesting story. There's going to be a really interesting part 2, of course.
Right. Yeah.
Hayley Atwell steals the show. She's excellent.
Yeah.
She really... I couldn't believe how
Because
good
you
she
don't
is.
see her in a lot of things unless it's Marvel connected, do you?
I don't think I've seen her outside of a Marvel property.
Yeah.
But she's fantastic in this. And also, Simon Pegg's fantastic and Rebecca Ferguson.
Oh well, Rebecca Ferguson is always
She's my
fantastic.
favourite character in this whole series.
I
She's
love
my
her.
favourite
I love her anyway,
character.
so-
Ilsa Faust is fantastic. And she's
What's
great
her name
in
in
this. Ilsa Faust.
Faust. I love her even more now.
There's a WWE aspect to the whole
Is there
thing.
really?
Sort of, because the action is really, really prepreposterous. And
Okay.
it's goofy. And
So
there's
it's like
some
Tom
silly-
Cruise coming up and giving it,
Kinda.
spine on the pine, rock bottom.
Sure. Well, maybe not that, but like, yeah, it just becomes increasingly more preposterous, and nobody sort of stands back and says, "Do you realise how weird and silly this is?"
Right.
But there's a lot of running, and there's a literal sort of kayfabe kind of thing where they
Right.
pull masks off all the time.
Oh, technology masks!
Do you know what I mean? There's
Yes.
that aspect to it. So I'd like. There's a WWE.
I love that stuff. I love technology masks.
Well, there you are. Cocktail is a romantic comedy drama directed by Roger Donaldson, from a screenplay by Hayward Gould, based on Gould's semi-autobiographical 1984 novel. Brian Flanagan comes out of the army and arrives in New York City, eager to get a high-profile, high-powered business job, but it doesn't really work out, so he takes a business class and tends bar to support himself. Turns out he's really good at bartending, and he soon finds himself under the wing of experienced Australian bartender Doug Coughlin, where the pair become something of a double act. Business-minded Brian hatches a scheme to turn their escalating notoriety into a nationwide commercial chain of cocktail bars, with Doug suggesting the name Cocktails and Dreams. Should have been Wet Dreams. It all goes very sour when Doug hooks up with Brian's beautiful girlfriend Coral as part of a strange wager.
Bound, yeah.
Indeed. The dynamic duo disband, with Brian heading off to Jamaica to make a tax-free fortune. Here he meets beautiful New York artist Jordan, and the pair hit it off. Doug returns out of the blue and leads Brian into the cool hands and warm embrace of wealthy old hag Bonnie. Jordan finds out and breaks it off with Brian, and they all wind up back in New York. Bonnie is a manipulative old creep. Doug kills himself, and Brian winds up reconciling with Jordan against Jordan's father's wishes, where he opens his own bar and they have twins together. What do you think of Cocktail?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. This is a real guilty pleasure movie of mine.
Good. Okay.
I know it's not aimed at me.
Is it not?
I don't really think so. I think it's aimed at like you said, your sister loved this film growing up. I think it was really more aimed at probably teenage girls than boys, maybe.
Sure.
I remember when my mum was married to her second husband.
Hi, Jackie.
My step brother was old enough to see Cocktail.
Okay.
And I must have been, I think he was 15, but I was 11. Oh. And I remember feeling crushed by the fact...
What was the age certificate on this? Was it 15?
15, yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just simply because of the Doug Coughlin bit at the end, which is absolutely gruesome.
It's disgusting.
Yeah,
horrible.
it's absolutely and it comes really out of left field.
Yeah.
You'd never expect that.
No. It does hit hard, that death.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love this film. I've grown up watching this film, and I suppose it's just like one of those sort of guilty pleasure feel-good movies.
Now, is this a feel-good film to you?
I think it's a feel-good... Well, yeah, well, let me explain.
You know what I'm saying.
Let me explain. This is a feel-good film.
But it's a really dark little film.
He gets the girl in the end.
Right.
And he has to go through some trials, but that's how we feel something for poor old Brian Flanagan.
Right, okay.
So, just see what I mean? I mean, are you not loving it from the very beginning?
No.
Where they're beeping the coach and they're like, beep, 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 and they're getting him on the coach and... No? Okay.
No,
he served his country.
He comes out of the army and he thinks, I'm going to be a big shot.
Yeah.
And
he goes and sees Uncle Pat. I love Uncle Pat.
Uncle Pat is my favourite character.
Uncle Pat is amazing.
He's the MVP. He helps him out. I love old Uncle Pat. I think it's very much of its era.
Oh, it is definitely of its era.
And it hasn't really aged that well, I would say.
Okay.
It's all very glossy. I think shiny teeth will get you anywhere in life,
right?
By the looks of things.
There's a lot of neon in the film as well.
There's a sort of yuppie, greed is good mentality, which was...
Yeah,
I mean, that's still pervasive now, but there was very much the old yuppies of the 80s. Some horrible needle drops. I hate the songs in this film.
The songs are horrible.
I hate the songs in this film.
Isn't it? What, one of them, I want to be wild again. Is that the one?
Right, Kokomo is my... I hate Mike Love, so...
Oh, okay.
I feel that things escalate very quickly and unrealistically.
yes, they do. They do.
It's like, I'm an ambitious veteran turned student, and I can't catch a break. Now I'm in a bar, tending celebrity. I'm a bartending celebrity of sorts.
And then suddenly he gets elevated, doesn't he, to that
toxic relationships. Now I'm a family man with twins on the way. Like, take a breath, lad.
Yeah.
Just fast forward, like. 2 years in the future, I'm doing this now. 2 years in the future, I'm doing that now. That kind of thing. Because it's so unrealistic.
Yes.
But then again, is a shiny smile will get you anywhere by the looks of things. So with a shiny smile,
what you have to remember is Tom Cruise had only one of his big break film was Risky Business in 84.
I hate that film as well.
I think 84.
Sure.
Right. Okay. I love Risky Business. So
Okay. Fine.
And this is a little bit kind of like that same sort of character.
All the Right Moves was his breakthrough, wasn't it?
Possibly, probably a little
But,
bit
I mean,
earlier. It was this sort of,
Risky Business,
yeah.
sure.
So this was as he was really starting to become a big actor.
Yeah.
And his portrayal in this film is very similar to Risky Business. The only thing I would say is that Brian Flanagan is very violent. If you watch it,
He's a tool.
he punches out an artist. He punches
He gets
out.
drunk and hits a man at his own
He
exhibition launch.
Yes, yeah.
But
he
he's the
hits a
skeeziest
doorman. He hits a doorman.
He does, yeah.
He hits Doug.
He does hit Doug.
I mean, he nearly hits Bonnie
I mean, he was an army man.
when
He's
Bonnie
come from
slaps
a world
him.
of violence, hasn't he?
Yeah. I would mention that also. What did you think of the rough and tumble sex scene with Bound?
Stupid.
Awful.
We're men of the world. You and
Who
I.
makes love to like that?
We push and pull.
Yes, exactly.
I've never done that with another human being.
I don't think I've ever had the energy to do that
It's
with
a wrestling match.
Yeah, exactly. It is, isn't it? I thought he was actually trying to beat her
And
like
naked.
actually physically.
Yeah,
You know,
a naked wrestling match.
I've never.
Again, Gina Gershon is a fantastic actor. I think I love her in everything I've ever seen. Have you ever seen Killer Joe?
No, don't think so.
Watch it; it's fantastic.
Right. Is that
It's
the one with
so good?
Josh Brolin in it? Josh
It's
Hartnett?
got Emil Hirsch. It's got Matthew McConaughey as the titular hitman.
No, I don't think I've seen it.
Really
No.
good. It's Billy Friedkin, and it's the sleaziest film you've ever seen in your life.
I will watch anything with Matthew McConaughey in it because I think he is the biggest,
Tool.
most he's so divorced from reality.
Yeah.
And so eccentric. He's just the biggest douche. But I just want to watch him. I just want him to tell me these things and then go, ha ha.
Right. He lives on his own shore.
He doesn't live on his own.
Well, no, he lives in his own world.
Oh, he lives in another world, yeah.
I think celebrity just sort of traps people after a time. I love the camaraderie between Brian and Doug. The first act is really enjoyable.
Yes, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
and the chemistry is good.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes,
Between those two, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Jamaica is
Then
a
they go to
bit.
Jamaica.
Yeah,
Sort of
that
just
bit's not as good, is it? The bit in
No,
Jamaica. I mean, it's not my.
No, tonally, it's really, really messy. So you go from it shifts between sort of comedy and that camaraderie to this kind of flaky melodrama.
I don't know. I don't know when.
This toxic romance. Everyone's really toxic in this. Just nothing but
I
horrible.
think the only
toxic
person that's
characters.
not toxic is actually Elizabeth Shue's character. I don't think she's.
Yeah, she's the least awful.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
yeah.
But she's still poor little rich girl.
But she can't draw, can she? I mean, did you
quite
see
like
that?
her paintings.
Did you like the portrait of
Well, no,
Cruise?
it's horrible.
the horrific one?
No, where she draws it on the beach. Yeah, horrendous. She's like, don't look at it; it's not finished. Yeah, no kidding. Look at it. But I like her paintings and her little loft.
What about Uncle Frank cameo?
I love Uncle Frank. I think I put a review of this on Letterboxd, and half the review was Uncle Frank.
Yeah.
Just what Uncle Frank wandering into the frame and asking for his complimentary drink, because he does that on the plane when he goes in Home Alone. So
he does.
That's Uncle Frank. That could be Uncle Frank.
I like to think that is actually Uncle Frank.
And they've all gone,
you done now, you little jerk.
like the McAllisters have all gone to Jamaica and left Kevin at home. Fantastic. I think I would have preferred a less than happy ending, personally.
Yeah, possibly. I think so. Yeah.
Brian achieves everything he sets out, and then it all collapses, much like how it did with Doug, because he got everything he wanted. Then he kind of just hit this plateau and killed himself, didn't he? Because he was kind of ruined.
Well, he just ruined his life. He just he didn't know what to do with money, so he just invested it in rubbish
In commodities and stuff, yeah, and yachts.
and just blew it like an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I don't understand the Brian Flanagan character because he really likes what's Elizabeth Shue's name in it?
Jordan.
Jordan, yeah. He really likes her, but yet he's happy to do this bet.
Who doesn't like Elizabeth Shue?
Well, exactly. I mean, this was
Elizabeth Shue is perfect in every way.
Beautiful.
And literally lights up the screen every time.
Wonderful.
She's wasted in this.
I know, absolutely. And he does this stupid thing with that hag, Bonnie,
I
right?
don't like Bonnie either, because everyone's toxic.
I
Can't get
know.
on board with anybody.
I know. And Shue felt she got the boot from Flanagan.
Right. I admire the...
Did you not like that?
Well, sure.
I worked on that.
I admire the drive of Brian Flanagan.
Right.
I don't like that his name is Brian Flanagan either.
No.
Because Tom Cruise isn't Irish.
He's not Irish at all, is he?
He played in... He was in Far and Away. Where
He was Irish
plays
in
on
that.
horrific
Yes.
Shannon.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was a little bit like Tom Cruise's
As a
horrible,
it just really hurts
horrible
me.
accent in Back to the Future 3.
Right. I admire the drive of Brian, and his ambition, all that kind of stuff. I dislike that he achieves much of his status because he's beautiful, and he experiences the flip side of his experiences with Bonnie.
Yeah.
So I like that. He has the highs with the lows.
Yeah.
He sees where his ambition gets him, if that makes sense, and it gets him into this horrible thing with this horrible old hag. I dislike that he's just about the most toxic and shallow individual. It was certainly in a film full of toxic and shallow characters.
Maybe that's why I like this film. Maybe it's the dark undertone that I'm...
It's a dark little film.
Yeah, I'm like watching it thinking, oh, this is a happy little... And underneath I'm really, it's like the sheer heartbreak emotion that you see on Tom Cruise's face where, when he's been given the check.
Right. Oh, yeah,
and she said, I just wanted to know how you felt about me. And he's like, I guess you'll never know.
Right, he tears up the check.
And I'm just like, oh...
His ambition is the catalyst for his success, but also his downfall, is what I'm saying. And he winds up hurting himself and a bunch of people.
I don't really think... I mean, Tom Cruise has made some really fantastic films.
Amazing.
But I think the films that are, like, lower on his, that are not as good...
Right.
Sit upwards because he's so good in them. Do you know what I mean?
He does elevate.
So even if they're quite...
Yeah.
So even if they're quite a mundane-ish film...
Like whenever Nicolas Cage is in one of those direct-to-video things... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, why are you in this? You're so good. And
That's what I mean.
And he turns up for them as well.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You always get a decent performance out of him.
Yeah. This is a dark little film. There's a cult of personality, celebrity worship angle to this, perhaps?
Yeah. I think, what I think it is? I think both Doug and Brian both think that money is going to make them happy. I think that's the mentality.
Yeah.
And both of them find that it doesn't.
Yeah.
Brian has money with Bonnie.
Yes.
And he's unhappy. And, Doug the same thing when he marries...
he knows he's alone. Not alone, but he knows he's going to have to do it on his own with Jordan, if that makes sense, and the twins. Yeah. So, yeah, sure.
Exactly.
So Dad doesn't want anything to do with him.
No. So...
he gets to run.
He does.
He gets to run when just after he's cheated on Jordan and he's running. He does get to run in this, doesn't he?
Tom Cruise does like to run.
He runs in everything. I think I as much as I love Tom Cruise, I think I would have preferred Patrick Swayze in this. Do you think he would have been better?
Oh, yeah, he could have been good.
He's of the same era.
Yeah.
He's doing this sort of stuff. He's got the vulnerability, he's got the charm, he's got the acting chops.
Yeah.
Perhaps more of that vulnerability.
Although I don't see Patrick Swayze taken under his wing by Brian Brown.
Brian Brown, Doug.
Yeah. I think Patrick Swayze was a little bit too, at Tom Cruise's age, a little too strong and savvy.
Right. You do get to see Tom Cruise has got it's a really interesting film to watch in retrospect, knowing what Tom Cruise is now.
Yeah.
But he does flash those crazy eyes. Because he has got... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do get a few... He does the little romantic thing. He does the little hunky boy thing.
And then he gets that sort of...
dramatic...
Yeah, that...
But you do get flashes of those crazy person eyes.
Usually when he's being sarcastic in a film.
Right.
He starts to flash his eyes, doesn't he?
I don't know how... I'm sure listeners are saying, I know exactly what you're talking about when he flashes those crazy eyes.
Yeah.
He's just got that look periodically. He just goes... Ding!
And I think he does that in both of these films, that flashy...
He really does in the second.
Yeah.
What do you think of Brian Brown as Doug Coughlin?
I think he's really good. I like how sleazy and laid back, and he's like, I know exactly how the world works.
Yeah.
I've got my own manifesto.
He certainly does. Do you want to go through his rules?
Huh?
Do you want to go through his laws?
Yes, let's go through. Have you got his laws?
I've got his laws.
Let's go through the laws.
Okay, so Coughlin's laws.
Yes.
In no real order.
Yes.
Drink or be gone.
Drink. Yes, drink. Beer is for breakfast.
So what does that mean to you?
Drink or be gone. It means beer is for breakfast around here.
Right.
That's you're drinking a sissy drink.
I think it's a double entendre.
Okay.
Personally, I think cut through all of the noise and get down to business.
Yeah.
Drink or be gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also means don't waste the bartender's time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Order yourself a drink and get out of here.
Yeah.
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 Anything else is always something better What does it mean to you? And how have you applied this
Okay.
in your own life?
Well, I have followed these rules, and it's led me. As I said, I've got a yacht. I've got a bottle of Remy in a Baccarat crystal bottle.
Right. I'd love to. If you had a yacht, I'd never leave.
To me,
Grass is always greener, right?
grass is and also I presume if you're in a position where anything else is better
Right.
than what you've got. So if you are actually in a position where you're not actually happy at all,
Right.
anything better has got to be better because you're already rock bottom, not happy.
Okay.
That's how I see it. But I also see what you're saying, where the grass is always greener.
That's what it
you
is
know,
to me, yeah.
and it's not always. It's not, is it?
Never show surprise. Never lose your cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. That's really good, though, isn't it? I mean, I never lose my cool, do I?
Yes, you do. You do all the time.
Hang on.
Never tell tales about a woman. No matter how far she is, she'll hear.
I think that's a good one for any man, to be honest.
Any
man.
I believe in that.
Any boyfriend, husband, son. Be careful what you say about your significant other, your mum, your sister, because they will hear it.
They'll hear about
They're
it.
gonna, they're gonna hear it.
Bury the dead. They stink up the joint.
Now that one I do agree with. I do agree with that
move
one.
on.
Move on,
Yeah.
because if you spend your time in the past, and I've lost a lot of loved ones, you do start to think about them an awful lot, and then you start to think, well, do you know what? I want to be back there again. And then you're not really living in the now. You're living in,
Don't pay any mind to bad things.
yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
The other one I do like that he says is, the luck is gone, the brain is shot, but the liquor we still got.
He's a great fatherly, brotherly figure to Brian. He gambles and toys with him. And there's a horrible butterfly effect, a cloud of toxicity that constantly follows. He's older, as you said. He's a bit slicker. He's literally a mover and a shaker.
He is. You know what I think it is? I think Brian sees him and he basically goes, I don't want to be you. Because if I keep going on down this way, if I don't repair my relationship with Jordan and become a responsible father and, partner, husband, I'm going to be you.
That's exactly where he's going to... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
His death really does quite hit hard.
It does.
Sort of come out of nowhere a bit as well.
And do you know something else?
He's depressed.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting him to smash the
He's
bottle.
not as like when you see him in the last scene on the boat where they're drinking the cognac.
Yeah, and he's got
he doesn't
Polaroid.
seem as depressed and like he was really going to kill himself.
No,
but then
not at all, not at all.
Unfortunately, a lot of people that do kill themselves
sure. Yeah,
days before, you don't know they're
You
going
never
to do
really know
it.
it's going to happen,
No,
do you? Yeah.
because it's only really the people that do say,
like
I
those
might do it,
last
that
photos
are
of-
actually asking for help.
It's like those last photos of, like, is it Chester Bennington?
Yes.
And Chris
Oh, yeah.
Cornell?
There's video of him with his children, and he's
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
He looks happy. He looks
Yeah.
so alive. And
Yeah.
then, like, the next...
awful. And I said he's something else. Brian Brown is such I think he's quite a likable character, a likable actor.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So although he's playing a bit of a scumbag,
Really charismatic.
he's a likable scumbag. You know what I mean?
He's charming.
Charming, okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, he's charming. You don't hate him. You don't
I
think,
don't hate him,
ugh.
but he's a horrible piece of work, really.
Yeah, but you must like him when he comes into the film.
Oh, yeah, but again, like I said, my favourite part of the whole film is that opening
Yeah,
act where they're
and I
just
love the banter
slinging-
between
slinging
him
punks or whatever.
and Tom Cruise, that they're always
great.
challenging each other and
Yeah.
a bit of mental fencing.
Yeah. Verdict.
Well, before we do this,
Okay.
can we say why one of the reasons you are not that struck on this film?
Why am I not?
Yes.
I was made to watch it a lot when I was a kid. My sister would put it on all the time, and we only had one. It was growing up in the olden days. We only had one TV. We only had one VCR.
Yeah.
So I had to watch it.
Right.
And I didn't enjoy it. And with great respect, I think this is quite... I was nicking her tape of Hellraiser when I was a kid, and watching her copy of Aliens and all the rest of it when I was a kid. I was watching stuff really far too young when I was a child. But I didn't like this film. And I was made to... I think it doesn't help when you're made to watch this film either. There was a flurry of these. There was Dirty Dancing, there was Ghost, there was Pretty Woman, and there was Mannequin.
Yes.
They're not my films. They're not for John. They're not John films. This isn't a John film.
We should have done this one with Pre-Woman. I do admire, though, I do admire that you did put yourself through watching it again.
Yeah, because you kept going on about it.
Well, I do.
You kept saying, "Oh, you should watch Cocktail."
I just really appreciate it. I just really appreciate that you've, you know...
You've got to suffer for your art, Jayson.
Well, you know, I do wonder sometimes if I would suffer as much for you. Anyway,
you're
the
going
verdict...
because I've got some episodes lined up.
Anyway,
so.
the verdict... The verdict?
Sure.
Right.
It's not my cup of tea, is what I'm saying.
Well, I think you just made recommendations for this film.
Yeah, those are recommendations.
Yeah.
That's just not my cup of tea.
No,
I was forced to watch this as a kid, and I didn't enjoy it then, and I don't really enjoy it now with a slightly older, wiser head. That's all. It's not my cup of tea.
Right. I think it's probably because I'm in love with the 80s that, you know...
Okay, fair enough. That's,
I mean, I always used to say that, like, if I could go back in time, I'd want to be an adult in the 80s, not a child in the 80s. Right. But, you know, so I just love all the stuff to do with, you know...
I wish that I knew then what I know now.
But this movie, in my opinion... It's big.
It's enjoyable.
It's good.
That first act is really cool. I don't like the messiness of it. It's tonally all over the place because you go from this kind of breezy comedy to this kind of not very...
It changes tone really. Like you've got the bit in New York, and then it's sort of... Then you've got the bit over in Jamaica, and then you've got a very dark bit coming back to New York.
It's just messy for me. The broad, breezy comedy with this really quite bland melodrama to these horrific, toxic and violent relationships. To this bit where it just kind of works out for him it just kind of works out for him in the end, doesn't it?
It does.
So
would we say that, this film is perfume going in the eyes, sewage coming out the mouth?
There's a bit of layer de panache, isn't it? Okay, Days of Thunder is a 1990 action drama film by Tony Scott, produced by Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer. A brief synopsis.
Ooh.
Race driver Cole Trickle, the names in this film, is a very, very good race driver, winning all manner of open-wheel racing competitions. I had to look up what open-wheel racing competitions were. Cole is stripped of his sponsorships and chooses to enter NASCAR. Cole impresses wealthy car dealer Tim Dalland, who attempts to lure experienced car maker builder and racing mastermind Harry Hogg out of retirement to lead the team. Harry is apprehensive, having essentially left the sport after driver Buddy Bretherton died in a race. Cole sets a very, very fast time on a test lap and Harry gets himself on board. Cole initially struggles with the cars, some communication failures and the dirty tactics of rival driver Rowdy Burns. Strange choice of first name by the parents there. Cole confesses that he doesn't really understand the NASCAR terminology. I have a problem with that. Having come from a different style of racing, as open wheel is more akin to IndyCar and Formula One. It means the wheels jutting out on the side.
Okay, yeah. That's why you talked about Indianapolis, isn't it? Yeah.
Harry duly places Cole under some very intensive training. The rivalry between Cole and Rowdy intensifies, and Cole accidentally winds up T-boning Rowdy after Donkey Kong drops a banana skin onto the track, which lands them both in hospital. Here, Cole meets and falls for stunning Dr. Claire. Cole and Rowdy bury the hatchet and become friends, racing around and trashing cars on the beach. Meanwhile, Big Tim has hired a racer named Russ Wheeler, because of course that's his name, to a second team. Cole has a new rival and Harry's unhappy, and the whole thing, and both are fired when tempests flare at a race in North Wilkesboro. So many names. Rowdy has to undergo surgery and elects Cole to race in his place at the Daytona 500, where he goes head-to-head with Wheeler. The film ends with 60-year-old Robert Duvall and sprightly Tom Cruise having a foot race. He always runs, doesn't he? Drop the hammer and put on those special tyres, Jayson. What do you think of Days of Thunder?
I went to see this film when I was 14.
Okay.
It was a 12.
Did you see it at Anglia Square?
No.
Damn it.
No, I saw it on Prince Wales Road.
Okay.
Cinema.
Anybody outside of Norwich listening to this, you're going to have no idea what we're talking about. Did you see, because Barbie is out in the cinema.
Oh, you're talking about Barb and Barbenheimer?
Barbenheimer,
Yeah.
Floppenheimer, wherever you want to say. I might be seeing Barbie this weekend, by the way.
Oh,
That's a different...
no.
But it's something I saw earlier. There's a thing that's going viral. So Barbie's out.
Yeah.
And at a cinema in West Dublin, I think it's like Dundrum or something like that, there's a little patch of water outside. It's like a little water featurey with fountains and stuff like that, whatever, outside of the cinema. And they coloured the water like pink, but it went red. And it looks like a river of blood. Like a geyser of blood.
Barbie. The sequel, Barbie, bathed in blood.
Oh, wow. I'd totally check it out.
There you go. Get on that, Greta, whatever your name is, the director. Days of Thunder. Now, I saw this when I was 14 at the cinema.
You did. Wells Road.
I must have looked quite young because I was sort of ID'd at the door.
And I got what was the age rating on this?
12.
12, okay.
But I got really sort of, would you say obstinate or irritated about it? I was like, I'm 14 years old. Why am I being checked like, my age is being checked?
How did you prove it?
Well, what they used to do is they used to spot check you straight away. How old are you? And you'd have to, like, spring it. And sometimes they would ask for birth certificates.
But you... Right.
Yeah.
So you have to get birth certificates in place.
Yeah. I have done before.
God.
So when I saw this film...
I thought 12 was always like one of those things that you had to be chaperoned. So if you were...
No, you had to be over the age of 12.
Oh,
yeah.
And chaperoned, no?
No, that's the 12A.
Okay. Oh, I'm so confused.
The 12A it's a 12, but you can be chaperoned.
Okay.
So you can see it at 10 or see it at 8. But, anyway. So, and also in 1995, Daytona USA came out.
Daytona.
So obviously on the Sega Saturn. And I've always loved that game.
Daytona.
Let's go away. But rewatching it, I found... I don't know. I think it's quite a flawed film.
It's a very flawed film.
It's a very flawed film. I think it's got a lot of pacing issues as well.
I don't know. I think it's quite well paced.
I found some parts of the film I started to get sort of...
bored?
Sort of bored, yeah. Irritate. Did you get bored? A little bit?
I thought it was quite repetitive.
The bit where he's in the truck and he's telling everybody why he lost his sponsor because of his dad, I didn't really care. I didn't...
Right. I've got an issue with that, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just on that note, so is Buddy Bretherton?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, God.
John C. Reilly's
Dad. Buck.
Yes.
Bretherton.
Yes, that's his dad.
How did Tom Cruise not put two and two together? That Buck Bretherton might, in some way, even though they're involved in racing,
yes.
Harry was clearly the leader of the thing.
Yes.
With whom he works.
Yes.
How did he not put together that, oh, Buddy Bretherton, Buck Bretherton, you must be related? How did he not put that together? Okay, fine.
I think it was for the audiences.
You think the audience is that stupid that you can't put it together?
No, I think the filmmakers think that the audience are that stupid that they need to...
Okay.
I mean, I thought John C. Reilly in this was just wasted.
Right.
I mean, he's a great actor, I think.
I think it's kind of funny that he would later appear in a semi-send-up of this film called Talladega Nights.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, it's kind of it's pretty much this film.
It kind of is.
But funny.
Don Simpson cameo?
He can't turn left. He can't walk left.
Yes.
In Talladega, or
something like that.
He can't turn right because he always goes. No, because they're driving a big circle.
I think it is. He can't because I think you have to turn left for 500 miles, isn't it?
I love Will Ferrell in that. That's hilarious. Sorry.
Yeah, Don Simpson cameo.
Yes, he's Andretti or something, right?
Aldo something. Yes. Yeah. He's dead now.
He lived a life. I don't know if we really want to go into the personal life of Don Simpson.
No.
Because he had a bit of a...
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But by all means, there's Wikipedias and articles written about
the dramatic entrance of Tom Cruise on, I presume it was on Harley?
Motorcycle, yeah.
Coming through the
billowing
smoke.
Jacket, yeah.
How amazing was that?
Great.
How great was that? I mean...
Yes.
It was fantastic. I loved that.
Beautiful. How else could you... I mean, unless he just fell out of the sky like Jesus.
Exactly.
You know
exactly.
I mean? Like,
and that look on his face when he says to Harry, let me drive, I won't let you down. And right, when he does that, you almost think to yourself, right, he could ask you for money, right? Tom Cruise could ask you for money and he could say, like, could you just give me $100 for now?
Right.
Right, I promise I won't let you down, I'll pay you back. And you'd be like, yes, I know you will.
Yeah, can I have your PIN?
Yeah, can I have your PIN and your card? And you'd just be like, yeah, of course you can. I know you're like a gazillionaire.
Right. It's a bit silly, isn't it, this film?
It is very silly, especially the bit with the old Disney Dumbo trick with the feather.
Sure.
we put special tyres on your car, Cole.
Yeah.
And you can now go around the thing faster and everything. And he's like, yes, I believe in myself.
Cole is a natural talent, but he doesn't know the technical side of it, which I think is really... Like, it's akin to saying, what do brake and accelerate mean? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and also, if he was so interested in doing it, why didn't he do any
research?
Research, yeah.
Exactly.
If you're going to do something and you're starting to get into something new,
Yeah.
you're going to do some homework, aren't you,
You're
first? You're not going to go like... I can drive a car.
Oh, you know a car?
Yeah, but I've got no idea.
Right, even though it's a completely different type of racing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you might be able to... I've got questions about this. So, Harry builds Cole a car.
Biker build-off. That whole scene is biker build-off, isn't it?
There's a shot where he's standing by, like, the shell of the vehicle, isn't he?
Yes.
And he's, like, touching it. And
Yes.
he's saying, like, oh, we're going to drop the wheels and put a big old fuel tank or something.
It's exactly like biker build-off. Did you ever see that program?
I think I know what you mean.
They used to do that, where you'd have the shell, you'd have the structure, and they would build it, and like that scene where you get the 90s music and the
really well shot.
Yeah,
all the atmosphere of that shot. But he's like, we're going to drop the wheels and we're going to put on a big fuel tank and we're going to shape it like a bullet. Right? Where does that come into the film? Where does it's lower come into the film?
No.
Where does we're going to shape this like a bullet? Where does that come into the film?
No, because
what is the point of that
cars
scene?
all supposed to be equal?
They're all supposed to be more or less the same, aren't they?
Right.
They're all stock cars, aren't they?
Yeah, but let's face it, that's communism in America. If they're all equal, that's communism. Sorry.
Right, so it's just nonsense then, that scene.
Well, they're all supposed to be within a range of equals.
They're all supposed to be the same,
Yeah.
more or less the same thing, but
Yeah.
I suppose you can have your own little flourishes.
Yeah.
Your own little technical aspects.
Yeah. But they can't be to change the car too much.
I'm going to build you a car. Oh, we're going to do this with it. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
None of that comes into it. There's a bit about special wheels, as you said. That's it.
The thing I find most jarring about this film is that Michael Rooker as Rowdy.
Love Rowdy.
He's wonderful, isn't he? I think he's great. I love Michael Rooker, and I think he's great in this. Yeah. And I think he makes.
Have you ever seen Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer?
No.
Fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, boy. We're going to have to do something on that.
He is, for all intents and purposes, like the bad guy to begin with.
He's,
Then they have the crash when they slide on Donkey Kong's banana.
Yeah.
Thanks, Donkey.
Yeah.
And he's then more of a ally.
Yeah,
because he's like a rival, isn't he? They do the wheelchair race, and then they race some.
Yeah, they both go through this horrible thing together, and then they sort of bond, and then they trash those vehicles.
And then evil Elvis comes, which I find really.
He's a rookie driver who becomes his.
I find that a bit of a problem because Kerry Elvis hasn't got that really vile thing about him. In fact, if anything, he just comes over as jerky. Snooty and jerky. Yeah. He doesn't really come off as being a villain.
A bit like Max Verstappen in Formula One nowadays. Do you know what I mean? He's got
or even what's his name? Schumacher used to be like that, didn't he?
He's got that kind of arrogance about him.
Yes,
but even so, I don't hate him.
He's a bit of a comedy bad. You've got Rowdy Burns is the villain.
Yeah, it is jarring because I know Carrie was from Princess Bride, for instance.
Exactly.
And he's the dashing,
and Robin Hood,
self-aware
the Robin Hood one. That what's his name? Mel Brooks did.
He's got this kind of really lovely kind of self-awareness about him, but this kind of snootiness about him as well. He doesn't really make a great villain.
No, and halfway through the film, it all changes. We get a new villain.
Yeah.
As Kerry Elvis, and he's like a comedy villain because he's cool, he's laid back.
Yeah.
You see him in the car and he's waving and he's putting his finger out and pointing at him.
Yeah. I just on a because it feels like we've slated this film. I think the racing sequences are quite good.
The racing sequences are very good.
Really well shot.
I'm not putting this there are sections of this film that I find boring. Right, there are bits. There's bits I find confusing, like where Tom Cruise is in a laundrette and he looks out the window and there's dirt racing going on outside this.
There's racing everywhere.
Laundrette built, and I'm like, where exactly is he? They built a dirt car track next to a laundrette. Okay, in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, to be fair, that could happen.
There are bits of this film that I absolutely love because of Tom Cruise and because of Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall?
Because I love their backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
I love the irritant bit they've got going. They're sort of slightly irritated, and they don't bring out the worst. They bring out the best in each other, but they irritate each other to do it.
Do you know if Tom Cruise did all of his own driving in this? Because he's known for doing all of his own stunts. Do you know if he did a load of the driving?
I'm
in
not
this?
sure if
I suspect he did. No?
Possibly.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. It's probably a Wikipedia or a...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not actually sure
something.
whether Tony Scott filmed actual NASCARs.
Oh, it could be.
It was... Because that sounds awfully dangerous for Tom Cruise to be doing.
Yeah, no, but he's hanging on aircraft at the moment, Jayson.
Well, true. Yeah, that is true.
Skydiving and throwing himself off cliffs and all the rest of it.
This is why I don't think Terminator's getting anywhere. Because like you said with the latest Mission Impossible, it's like him versus Skynet.
It's literally him
versus Skynet. Well, this is why we haven't got him. We've got rubbish John Connor, who can't get the job done.
Sure.
And, and rubbish Sarah Connor. And we need Tom Cruise. We need Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, reboot the franchise with Tom Cruise.
Why couldn't they send Ethan Hunt?
There we are. I think this film, much like Cocktail, is very much of its era. Well, the blatant product placements are ingeniously inserted because they serve as car sponsors for the most part.
Yes, of course they do.
I don't know what mellow yellow is, but I'm sure it's delicious. There's Hardee's, there's Snickers, they drink copious Budweisers.
Yeah.
I presume...
What about the moonshine they drink? Do you want peach or cherry?
Indeed.
Liquor from a jar.
There's a scene in which the police pull the truck over because Harry has moonshine on board and you can't cross it over state lines or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a bit problematic how that winds up nowadays.
It is.
Very odd police brutality because we won't go into the specifics as to what happens, but the police officer that pats cold trickle down, grab something of Tom Cruise.
Let's just say that private has a feel of his private.
It's a stripper, isn't it?
It's a stripper, yes.
Very elaborately organised. A stripper for Cole who
and then
problematic nowadays, though.
Well, it was problematic in the film because when the doctor comes in, don't she? When he actually thinks she's a stripper, and he's like, "Hey, you're looking for
you want a piece of?"
He acts like a complete douche. What about Nicole Kidman?
What about Nicole Kidman?
Right, I think she is not great in this film. I think she's
wasted,
I don't think there's any reason for her apart from a random love interest.
Sure.
The doctor could have been male in this, checking him over.
Sure.
I think she's very cold in it. I think her performance is very cold and withdrawn.
Sure, she's one of the great actors.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think
she's great.
Nicole Kidman is a cold actress. I don't think that.
No.
But I think her performance in it, like even when they're laying in bed, she feels quite sort of detached.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that scene in Armageddon when you've got Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler, and it feels very lovey-dovey, doesn't it?
Sweetener packet thing.
Yes, he's got a sweetener packet, and what's it? Ben Affleck, because these two scenes remind.
They're very similar.
Very similar, yeah.
With,
the animal cracker things,
whatever in Armageddon, he does. There's something similar.
And he's doing a nature program, and Tom Cruise is doing like we're going to do these positions on the driving.
Even there, he's thinking about driving.
Well, he is, yeah.
Right, okay.
I mean, it's a little bit like Faye Dunaway in Network, where do you remember she's getting ready to make love to that guy, and all she can talk about is work.
It's a bit weird.
It's like, yes. But anyway, those two scenes...
But she's a bit lost. A bit...
Detached. Because Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler, you feel that they are lovey-dovey in it, where these two, even though they do become lovey-dovey because they get married, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman.
Oh, yeah, with their dead eyes. There is a bit more to it in Armageddon because obviously... what's her name? Grace?
Grace, yeah.
Harry, Bruce Willis's character's daughter. So there is a bit more. She's got a bit more purpose, and she's
definitely got purpose in the
with the roughneck or whatever. She's a bit wasted. It's nice to hear her Australian accent though, isn't it? She is her actual accent.
She does.
It's a lovely accent.
She does. Actually, that is nice. That is nice. Sometimes
beautiful. She's red-headed. She's
a great actress.
She's got it all, and she's a fan. But she's. I
love her. I love her in Stoker. I absolutely love her in Stoker.
I love her in. I love her in the thing I saw her in. I noticed 3 or 4. There may be more which I didn't notice, of course, but I noticed 3 or 4 Confederate flags.
Right, yeah, I know something about this.
In various frames, in crowds and
I noticed some things at this. When they're in the hospital...
That's a bit awkward.
You know when they go in that conference room in the hospital?
Sure.
And him and Cole and Rowdy have raced each other.
Yeah.
Cole has a blue back to his...
Okay.
A blue seating area on his wheelchair.
Right, okay.
Rowdy has red.
Right.
Now, Rowdy, you would think being a Southerner,
Well, he's...
red, Confederate, and they called him a Yankee. They
that's
called
the
Cole a
thing.
Yankee, that's blue, isn't it?
I don't... He's
Am I
not
reading
a
too
Yankee,
much?
is he? Because Harry right at the beginning says, like, he's not a Yankee, is he?
But
He's
you
from
have that whole red
California, though,
versus
isn't he?
blue, though, don't you?
Right.
Right? And they were one of the chairs is red, one of them is blue.
Right.
Or is it just reading too much?
You might be... I don't know. I don't think they're trying to be subtle.
Right, okay, yeah.
But that's really problematic.
It
to have
is.
Well,
it is, yeah. I mean,
because
because Robert Duvall's character, Harry, is a real old Bammer, isn't he?
Old country Bama.
He's a whole country Bammer.
Right.
With his moonshine.
It might be worth broaching the fact that this film is Top Gun, but racing.
Yes. Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is. It was touted as racing Top Gun when that was one of the selling points when the film originally came out.
All right, I might go off on one here.
So, obviously, because we're talking about films in the early 90s and late 80s, a lot of it could actually be quite offensive nowadays.
There is that angle to it.
Yeah,
Hasn't
there
aged
is.
well.
Well, no. And there's lots of things when you go back 30 years that you can't see in films now.
No.
That, is... No. But then again, you have to keep... Because the thing is, I believe you have to keep it in because it's a product of the time. And if you don't make that... I mean, it's like when you're trying to replicate something. If you make a gangster film and you don't have them smoking in any of it...
Right.
That's not accurate. Gangsters smoked.
I understand, yeah.
You need some...
I get it.
Authenticity.
And I'm sure gangsters nowadays smoke.
Well, I'm sure they do.
Exactly. So... I might just go off on one, actually.
Go off on one. Come on,
okay, well, it's Top Gun, but racing.
It is.
An angry young man with a horrible daddy issues directs his problems into piloting a very, very fast vehicle. Maverick finds a father figure in Viper. It was Tom Skerritt. Here, Cole finds a father figure in Harry.
Yep.
Rowdy is Iceman and Goose.
Yes.
Though Rowdy lives, his injuries affect Cole, similar to how Maverick was impacted by Goose's death. Cole's reckless actions hospitalises himself and Rowdy. Maverick's actions lead to Goose's death. So what I was suggesting earlier was that Tom Cruise had a run of these particular types of films.
Yes.
So there's this film, there's Top Gun, Cocktail and The Colour of Money, where he's a hotshot prodigy, but he's troubled, and there's a fatherly figure who takes him under his wing.
Yeah.
There's an adversary who winds up being a friend.
Yes.
The Tom Cruise formula.
Well, this is the thing. Tom Cruise is one of those actors that you either love or you don't. I mean, because if you don't like Tom Cruise's style of acting, you are not going to like Tom Cruise.
Right. He's something different now, though.
I think now he's different.
Yeah, he's really... Yeah,
he's more of an action man.
He's Mr. Action now.
Yeah. To be honest, I can't think of that many Tom Cruise films that I would say I really dislike.
Fallout, here we come. We're going to do an episode.
I can't say that. I mean, because I'm a huge fan of Tom Cruise, and I will say this, and I've said this so many times before, it's like a broken record. He is our generation's greatest actor.
I disagree.
Well, I think he is.
Disagree.
I didn't say he's the most talented. I said he's the greatest actor.
You do realise him and Daniel Day-Lewis are more or less the same age, don't you?
Okay. I'm not going to say any more. I'm not going to say any more about Tom Cruise. I love him.
Okay, so can we just go through the names? So Tom Cruise is Cole Trickle.
Yeah.
There's his reference. I've done a wee bit of research on it. I think his name is a reference to veteran racer, God help me, Dick Trickle.
Yes.
Robert Duvall is Harry Hogg, who they call Harry. So it's Harry Hogg. Harry Hogg Jayson. Randy Quaid isn't crazy in this.
He has a little moment, this little scuffle about, because I did like that at the end where they sort of go into the, like in a cartoon, the ball of smoke.
Yeah.
And we'll just see fists and legs.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise is really violent in a lot of his films. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
These violent outbursts of punching somebody.
He's the hot-headed, like I said earlier, he's the sort of hotshot prodigy, but he's troubled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he always has to overcome something. He's got to kind of like get back in the saddle.
Right.
So it's like in Top Gun, he had to get back in the saddle after Goose. Yeah. This one, he's got to overcome his demons of getting back in that car because he blows the engine, doesn't he? Because he wants to get out. He's like, no.
Yeah.
As I said, there's just some bits in it that just drag a bit for me.
Yes.
And I just find myself twitching a bit. And I always know that because if I'm watching a film that I'm into...
you're
I mean,
on
you
your
saw
just-
me squirm for Indiana Jones, didn't
We
you?
referenced this last week. You were sighing.
I was sighing
kept-
and squirming.
And you kept
How much-
sitting really
How much longer is this
uncomfortably.
film going to go on for? I kept thinking.
You're a bit of a barometer, I think. Hans Zimmer's score? Nothing to write
In
home
what?
about. In this. Hans Zimmer.
It was the Hans Zimmer score, was it? What?
It's okay. It didn't really grab me, is all.
Didn't grab me at all. I didn't know it was Hans Zimmer score.
Sure.
It wasn't Pirates of the Caribbean or Inception, was it?
Hans Zimmer is one of the great composers.
He's fantastic.
Certainly cinematic composers.
Yes, fantastic.
Didn't
But
grab
could you
me at
imagine if Days of Thunder had opened on the Daytona thing and you got...
Do you know it would have been really cool if they had Daytona?
Oh, that all could... Well, I got so excited at the beginning of the film where you see that track on and you see Daytona written, and all I kept thinking was, "Oh, it's the it's the track from Daytona, isn't it?
Daytona's on the emulator.
It
device.
is. It is. Yeah.
The soundtrack is littered with the cheesiest of the era guff songs as well.
Yeah. Oh, Show Me Heaven.
Show Me Heaven.
Oh.
Tina Turner's got a track on here. Cher's got a track on here. Elton
Yes,
John.
there is a Cher track somewhere, isn't there?
Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's
Is
door.
that in one of the bars or something?
I hope we don't get a copyright strike for all of this singing.
No, I hope not.
Give me some loving. Verdict.
This movie is average.
It's fine. Again, it's very of the era, and there are some
Well, I
problematic
spoke to my
aspects
mum
of
and
it.
talked to my mum about
What
it. I
did your
said
mum
I
feel
watched
about it?
Days of Thunder last night.
What did she feel?
I said, "You like that film, don't you? It's okay." That was it's okay. And I was like,
Oh, she loves everything.
"Oh, it's okay, is it?" She's like, "Yeah, it's okay."
Oh.
Yeah, and she
think
does love Tom
I
Cruise.
think these films go together well, though. That's why I sort of picked them.
I think
Because
they
they're
do
more-
because they're
there's so many similarities.
Yeah,
between,
and
like,
it
the
also
fatherly figure, the troubled man,
Yeah.
and so on.
and there's also these were like a couple of his films that were released quite soon after that. I think Cocktail was Cocktail 88.
I think it was 88 and Days of Thunder.
Yeah,
was
so you've got 2 years in
91,
between.
I think,
Yeah.
something like that. It's
Yeah,
fine. It's fun. I'd recommend Talladega Nights.
I think if you have no interest in NASCAR
I don't
or
know
racing,
anything about
don't see it because it's. I don't think it's.
Maybe. I don't know.
I've never been the biggest fan of like Formula One and watching. I mean, I've been to see race cars before,
Have you?
yeah.
I've seen race
and
cars.
I think it's quite boring when you
It's
actually
okay,
watch it because you watch them go
But,
down,
I
and
mean,
then
I don't love every sport.
no.
so
But what I mean is like when you're watching
everyone's got their own
that, they go
interests
around the
and that.
track, and then there's bits of the track you can't see.
Yeah.
So it's like meow, they're gone, and then next thing that sounded like I said meow, but they're gone, and then next thing is it's a good few sips of beer, and then
Cat races would be amazing.
oh, cat racing.
Cat race.
Oh, cat race. Yeah.
That'd be great.
What about Tom Cruise being in a movie set in the
It's not
future?
about
So you've got
that,
you've got like sci-fi
So
because he loves
You
no
go
no
and
no.
like ride to Skydale.
He's riding giant cats,
Oh,
giant panthers,
tigers.
giant black panthers. Tom Cruise on a giant black panther.
I'll go for that.
He's got he's got a headphone on,
But, like-
and he's got Robert Duvall because he's still with us, I think, isn't he?
He's like 92 and he's still.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, he's still with us though.
I love.
We're
Robert
going to
Duvall.
drag Robert Duvall out.
Robert Duvall is fantastic in this.
Yeah, I love Robert Duvall. He's ever so good. Now, well, what they do is actually Tom Cruise has a saddle put over a couple of people, and they do the motion capture.
He'd do all the stunts himself. He would.
Yeah, he's
he
going to be
would
sitting on.
ride-
He'll be
he
sitting
would
on the
ride a
saddle.
panther, Yeah.
Or they could get a proper panther. I think he would do that as well.
I would recommend Talladega Nights, Ford versus Ferrari, and Rocky, because there's a Rocky aspect to this, I feel, as well.
I think Ford versus Ferrari is a much better watch
It's
if you're going to watch
way
racing.
better- in terms of like a car sports movie, I think.
Yeah.
Ford
And if you
versus
know nothing
Ferrari
about
is way
racing
better.
and you're not that interested in racing, I think Ford versus Ferrari is going to be a much better watch for you and a much more interesting watch.
Yeah, I think there's a better camaraderie between Bale and Damon as well. I think those two should be in way more things.
Yeah, I do.
It's fun. It is what it is.
I think depending on your taste, you will either prefer Top Gun or you'll prefer this.
They're the same film.
So that yeah.
Join us again as we enter the murky London underworld with Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and its follow-up Snatch.
I haven't seen these films in years.
I was John and he was Jayson. You can find us on Letterboxd, I Am Rat Bastard.
I am Kurja_Rallon.
I got a question for you.
Yeah?
How's that spelled?
Oh, that's a new question. I've never been asked. You put me on the spot. KERJA_RELON.
You can find us on Instagram.
You can. Cinemattraction_podcast.
Be excellent to each other.
Yes, and thank you for listening. And if you like what we're doing, please give us a like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell us whether we're entertaining you, or whether you're offended, or whatever it is, good or bad. Tell us, and we'll see what we can do.
Tell Jayson what you think of his voice.
Yeah, tell me how old do I sound? Seriously, because I haven't mentioned my age, and
No.
I would just like a gauge of how old you think I might be.
It's that sea air, isn't it?
It is.
It's that sea air that does it. Okay, love you, bye-bye.
Boy!
It's probably got one of those weird names too, like Flugelbinders.
Flugelbinder, right.